What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy. Go Black to Africa. You know, I'm gonna do this video right here because I want to share this young man, probably older man, who came from Puerto Rico, who served in the army, and he is sharing the white supremacist attitudes in how they would segregate the troops. Back in 1992, 1991, what have you, when I was served in the war, and he is sharing his observation, his experience, and how America's military, as well as his system, is racist. Check the video out, and I'll be back.
As someone who, after all, has white skin color, there was a time when white supremacy will feel comfortable enough around me to be spouting all kinds of about other minority groups. At the time, for fear of being shown away and excluded, I would choose to stay quiet, which I now am even ashamed to admit. I no longer do that shit. If they now have some saying from me, I will stop and right on their tracks. In fact, ever since my awakening, most of them no longer want anything to do with me anyhow. When did I find out that I really wasn't considered to be white? Story time. For those of you who do not know me, I was born and raised in the island of Puerto Rico. The reason I have an accent is because English is my second language. In Puerto Rico, we learn some English in school, but not enough to be conversational. So it was under that context back in 1989 that I decided then to join the United States Army when I was only 18 years old. Given then my lack of skills in the English language, the Army sent me to a 9-week English school before I could start basic training. Although those 9 weeks helped me with the basics of the English language, they really weren't enough to keep me from sometimes struggling during my training. Thankfully, I had a Puerto Rican friend who was from New York and bilingual and could help me to survive it. After graduating from basic training and advanced individual training, I also attended airborne school, where I basically learned how to safely jump out of airplanes. After that, I ended up landing in my first duty station, which was the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. During my first year there, as I was still learning and struggling with the English language, some of my fellow paratroopers sometimes would treat me like I was some kind of idiot who didn't know what was going on. Deep inside, that shit used to piss me off. Most of these fellow paratroopers happened then to share my same skin color, which was then that I began to learn about some of the realities about this country that I wasn't yet fully aware of. So after being in my unit for almost a year, we all then got called to go to the Persian Gulf to be part of the Gulf War in 1990-91. Since we were the 82nd Airborne Division, we were literally the very first one who arrived to Saudi Arabia to get ready to potentially fight the Iraqis. They put us then in the middle of the desert and had to build our own mini tent city. Well, the leadership at the time didn't take charge of our living arrangements and basically allowed everyone to pick their own tents. Interesting enough, we all ended up divided by race groups, the white tents and then the everyone else's tents. Guess which tent I ended up in? You guessed it right. Even if I wanted to be in the white tent, I knew then that I wouldn't be welcome. Anyhow, with such segregation, it wasn't long before we all ended up fighting one another. That's when the leadership realized they f***ed up and only then ended up rearranging our living spaces. Ever since then, I understood which tent I belonged to. For years, I tried to get in their tent until I realized that I could build my own and be much better than theirs. In fact, that experience helped me to become the leader that I ended up becoming later on in the future. A little while ago, I made a video explaining how I personally came to find out which tent I belong to here in the United States once I joined the U.S. military from Puerto Rico. Ever since then, it's been my personal conviction that in this country there are only two separate tents by which one decides to abide in. So what exactly are those two tents? The tent of exclusive white supremacy and the tent of inclusive diversity. Everyone in this country belongs to one of these two tents. When Obama then became president, some people began to then gain consciousness as to which tent they belong to, in particular after the death of Trayvon Martin. I personally consider that a specific tragic event not only a clear turning point that began to drag us all back to the Jim Crow era, but also the key that opened the door to Trump ever becoming a possibility. It was at that specific event that many people who never realized before which tent they have always belonged to gained consciousness, where lines then began to be drawn all throughout our nation. Those who have always had implicit biases against black people came to realize that they were part of the white tent by taking sides with the obvious murderer, and those who were all along in the tent of diversity began to also understand which tent they have always belonged to. During that incident, there were people of all colors and backgrounds who realized they have always belonged to the tent of progressive inclusive diversity. But unfortunately, there were also many people from all colors and backgrounds who realized then that they mostly preferred to defend the digressive exclusive white supremacy tent. So in 2016, many who previously didn't realize before to be part of the white supremacy tent came in droves to vote for Trump. Ever since then, the lines have been clearly drawn. So my question to you today is, which tent do you belong today? Stay woke, people.
What do you think? Let me say this right here, family. You know, I've said it time and time again, why I left America. Damn Erica, to be exact. Put the D in front of America, capitalize the E. You know, when you are surrounded by a majority of people, one, who are ignorant to the fact of a system that is biased and racist, when you are in a system to where our own people are blinded and don't believe that there are injustices that happen to them on the job, through education, through housing, through business, housing opportunities, you sit complacent and ignorant. But when you see this behind me, when you see here at the mall, the people who have the freedom, the people who has the liberty to go on and live beyond than just the average black person in America, Canada, Europe, wherever that we may be. But you see that you don't have the outside influence that is going to be bombarding your children, whether it might be bombarding you in your life that you want to live. But we have to understand that until you're waking up or woken, you will never get any place. You will never be able to experience life for what it actually presented you. Some people rather remain in the fight. Some people rather remain in a struggle. Some people just like the drama. And there are others who want out but just don't have the fortitude, don't have the knowledge, don't have the wisdom to be able to get themselves out of a tough situation. But I recall going back in my day why, you know, all the ups and downs in damn Erica. There again, put the D in front of America, capitalize the E, damn Erica. From a child growing up through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, up into the current moment, I have had nothing but struggle, strains, and strife when it came to me trying to reach my full potential in my endeavors. It was always, most of the time, I'm not gonna say always, but most of the time when I was doing business ventures, when I was trying to make advancements, when I was trying to go ahead and push myself to limits that I knew I can be able to overachieve, there was always something in the way. And though I might have had to jump over the obstacles, climb out of the hole in the ground, or, you know, these barriers that are sometimes put in your place, I didn't let it stop me. But I exhausted a lot of energy, a lot of spent stress, undue stress that was in my way, that held me back. You know, I cannot say it any simpler. I'm right here in Ghana, in Accra, and you see where we are out here in the midst of our people. There's nothing that is more prouder than being in an environment that you don't have to question yourself whether you missed an opportunity, whether you didn't get what was due you, whether you didn't achieve what you thought you deserved, by the notion of whether prejudice played a part. That is mind-boggling when we live a life in that aspect. If it ain't frustrating to you, I salute you to continue on your way, because until you experience something like this, that I know a gun is not going to be fired off here. I know that there's not going to be Riddick crime that you're so used to in damn America. I know that this is not going to be a place where what we see, the drama, the drug selling, the child snatching. I know this place here in Africa do not have the issues that America has that many of you all love. No, it's not perfect here in Africa. I've been to 26 countries, and it's not innocent, and it has its issues. But when it comes to your freedoms and your liberties, you best get out and check to see the country that you're living in. Is it really for you, or is it benefiting them? This is your man, not your boy. Gold, black, 2, Africa.